Chief Meteorologist Joel Barnes here. Thanks for joining us on our live platforms on YouTube, Roku, our live on our internet, which includes not only our apps, but as well as our Facebook page and on our Facebook Live on our news page. We're still tracking some storms tonight. There has been a change from the Storm Prediction Center. They've added a level 1 now as far south as Jackson, and they dropped the level 2 a little bit further into central Gibson and central Carroll County. Still looks like mostly a hail threat tonight. I don't think we're going to get any tornadoes, but there's definitely some big hailstorms. I'm going to show them to you on the radar. Severe thunderstorm watch. That's out till 10 p.m. tonight. Meteorologist Jordan Hubbard's also with me. You'll be hearing from him here in a couple of minutes. But let's start with what we are looking at. We got a brand new severe thunderstorm warning, which is issued now till 8:45. But the main concern is right here between Martin and Palmersville. There has been a cluster of hail that is dropping down, and we even have that little inflow notch there. See that? That's where if there was going to be a tornado trying to develop with this little cell, it would be right there. So we're going to have to watch that little area for some possible rotation. But what you do see is hail into Martin, hail just about a few miles east of town. And this has been going on for a while with this hail core. So this is probably quarter-size hail, maybe even some isolated bigger stones up to golf balls can't be ruled out. Looks like we just got a brand new, I'm going to step off real quick before we go back because we just got a brand new radar scan showing a pocket of hail, and then on that inflow notch, Jordan is going to check that out here for you. But there's the storm tracking down to the southeast, racing through a couple different hail pockets within it. Here's our hail tracker. It's been any of this purple is where there's a chance for quarter larger size hail, as that's just north of Martin tracking down. So where's that little hail core going to go? Well, if it continues in the same direction. Dresden, you may want to get your car in the garage if you can. Some of the other areas, looks like Jewel or Springs, Gleason, Tumbling, this could all be coming your way as it tracks down to the southeast. So there's been some reports of some pretty large hail. This is very broad rotation here. We like this. We don't want to see when the reds and greens get bright and come together in a real small spot. As of now, that's not anything that they would consider even thinking about issuing a tornado warning for. There was a tornado warning earlier issued into Kentucky when there was some tighter rotation with this storm. But as it tracks down to the southeast right now, I think hail is going to be the big concern for Dresden, Gleason, maybe McKenzie eventually, and then Henry as it tracks down to the southeast. So here's the wind line. This is when you can expect the wind line to come through if you're watching us in Sharon, Gleason, Paris, Henry, as well as Mansfield as it slides down to the southeast. So kind of zoom things out here. The big picture is if you're watching us, I think in Gibson County, Madison County, we're really struggling to see much for redevelopment. So here's some of that development back behind it. This is all I've seen. There is a chance this comes a little stronger as the cold front continues to dig through and it slides by, but we're probably looking at less instability here by 10 o'clock, and that's why the severe thunderstorm warning, our watch is only out till 10. So it's probably going to be our only concern for severe weather tonight as it comes on by. A couple different forecast models. This is our in-house model here showing you the storms coming through, pretty much staying up north until around 10 o'clock, and then a couple of them do drop down to the south, but you notice everything looks relatively weak as it comes by. Got one other forecast model I'm going to check out. This is what's called the HRRR model. It does pretty well with thunderstorms, and we're going to see what it's showing with the event. So, all right, well, we got one other forecast model that I can pull up for you. I guess that was the HRRR that I was just showing you, just updated on me. About the time I went on the show. So, all right, so here's the other forecast model, and it's actually showing some redevelopment in here now in Jackson. So 8, 9, I'm not so certain about that, but there's a possibility, but it's got the front moving out between midnight. So we still have some potential for some stuff between 8 and midnight sliding down. But when we go back to the radar, I'm just really not seeing anything that is currently trying to develop into that area. Here's a look at, again, one more quick look at West Tennessee's radar, and then we're going to check in with meteorologist Jordan Hubbard, who's got an update on some of those hail sizes that we're seeing, because there's definitely some pretty big hail showing up. Jordan, why don't you take over? Let's go over to Jordan on Max 2.
Well, so the good news is, as this storm has been progressing through Obion and now Weakley County, hail size has been decreasing pretty rapidly. At the county line between Obion County and Weakley County along State Highway 22, it was radar estimates over 2 inches in diameter. Now, since it's past Martin to the east, we've seen that drop gradually all the way down to, with the latest scan, all the way down to 1.4 inches, just under 1.5 inches, which 1.5 inches is ping pong ball size hail. So that is quite a bit different than, I believe 2 inches we call that hen egg size. So your little chicken eggs that you get from the grocery store, that's about how big that hailstone would be. Now we're down to 1.4 inches, so that's about, that's over 1/2 inch in diameter over about a 30-minute span or so. Now we're going to pop back reflectivity onto this, the good old-fashioned radar. We still have a bit of that inflow we see just to the east of Martin, right around the community of Hinesville, but again, this is going to be more of a hail threat. Of course, we zoom out and it looks like a textbook supercell, but what these storms have been doing is once they start to develop, they will split in half. And on today, the left storm, the storms on the left side of the split, which are typically the bigger hail makers, not so much the big spinners, they have been the storms prevailing today. So that's why the hail risk is so elevated today instead of our tornado threat. We still have a tornado threat today. It's very low, but we do have one, and I believe we have an update actually on the severe. Oh no, that's from our last severe weather outbreak or episode. That was, I don't know why my weather service chat scrolled up so far. We do have a new radar scan coming in. Again, the hail to the east of Martin is even smaller. We pop back the hail tracks onto that, and well, it's the newest scan. We'll drag it all the way out to down to under 1 inch. So that's an excellent sign on the hail, but we're going to keep tracking this because the warning is still out for up to golf ball sized hail, and there is a new hail core developing just to the north of Dresden, between Dresden and Palmersville, and we can, there wasn't a hail track here on the radar estimates, and that'll probably take another couple of scans, but what we can do instead of having to wait for that scan, we can take a vertical slice of the storm, and we'll zoom out here. And you see that these hail returns are going up to about 22,000 feet. So these are low top storms. It's very cool aloft today, so that's why the hail is able to develop and stay as hail for so long. Of course, it's going to drop pretty quickly. It doesn't have time to develop into larger stones at 20,000 feet. Of course, when we get those baseballs, softballs, even as big as grapefruit size hail, we don't see it often, and that's because the storms that make that are 40, 50, sometimes even 60,000 feet tall.
Awesome stuff, Jordan. Really cool. Let's head back to Max 1 real quick. We do, again, have a severe thunderstorm watch. We'll get back to Jordan here in a minute. We have 8 counties still under that watch tonight till 10 p.m. Again, if you're watching us in Jackson, Lexington, Alamo, Brownsville, there could be a little weak storm come by, but we're expecting the instability to fall off pretty quickly over the next couple of hours. But we are watching that additional new development there north of Jonesboro. That's eventually going to come through. I think we're going to get something in Jackson tonight. I just don't think it's going to be as strong as this storm we're watching now over in Martin and Palmersville. But as Jordan showed you, we're starting to lose some of those purples and magentas, which is the hail that was being detected by the radar product, the reflectivity. And there's only about 23 lightning strikes within this whole area, so they're not real explosive storms, but they're definitely producing some hail and a lot of mid-level rotation. Just don't have that surface-based rotation that you typically need to produce tornadoes, so that's why we're not super concerned with that little inflow notch we were watching. Plus, we can also look at it at the velocity and see that it's a very broad area of rotation instead of a tight one. But the hail core beginning to fall apart east of Martin. Looks like it is still continuing, though, close to Fancy as it tracks down. Dresden, you may have some small hail on the way. You notice the main hail core, though, that is developing, probably going to stay just east of Dresden, being more rural areas there of Wbbj County. Here's a look at the hail tracks, though, that our radar product's been picking up. But you notice the purples where the large hail was, now just showing up. That's probably closer to pea-size hail that's heading into Dresden instead of the quarter or larger size hail we had earlier. But let's look at the timing. A few communities, Dresden, Gleason, and Tumbling, when if that hail does show up, that's when we were expecting it. A very broad rotation. I know you said, well, the greens and the reds are together, right? Yeah, but it's such a large area. We're looking at probably 10-mile area of rotation here instead of just a couple miles concentrated when you would expect what's called a mesocyclone to develop, basically a wall cloud where tornadoes come out of, and the colors aren't overly bright anyway, so these winds are probably only up to around 40 miles an hour, at least from what I'm seeing on the radar. Looks like we are getting some sort of update on our severe thunderstorm warning from Jordan. We'll get that from you here in a minute. There's a look at the timing of the winds as they come through Gleason, McKenzie, Paris, if it holds together. Definitely think it's going to get a little stormy here in Dresden, Gleason, and McKenzie over the next 30 minutes. You're three of the communities that we know are going to be impacted by this storm as it comes on by. But no tornado concerns, severe thunderstorm warning. Notice it's beginning to move down to the southeast. Should stay north of Huntington. It'll be close, but we'll see what develops back behind here. But as far as the future casts tonight, the forecast models, I think everything's going to stay pretty much to the northeast of Jackson. That's going to be anything that's concerning. But it's also showing there will be some weaker development coming on through maybe close to midnight. Jordan, what's the update on that, on the warning?
So we've got two things. One, Obion County is out of the warning. The second thing is the maximum hail size has been dropped from golf ball to ping pong ball size hail. So winds still tagged for 60 miles per hour. That's of course a baseline warning, but the hail still in pretty severe size range. Of course, we can pop the tracks back on, see if we've gotten enough scans with the new hail core developing, and it's popped up. Here we go, just to the north of Dresden. Let's turn the thunderstorm warning off for just a second, then we can pop that on there. And well, a third of an inch roughly. That's not the biggest hail. It's about pea-sized, maybe closer to marble, but it's still developing a second hail core to the east of the original, and that's kind of been sort of the story of the evening. We'll pop radar back on for just a moment. The inflow notch still there, although again very weak. So let me actually read the verbiage on this warning, see if they still have the tornado possible tag on it. I don't see it actually. No, I think they dropped the tag on that severe thunderstorm warning for, yeah, it is gone. No more tornado possible tag for that storm as of right now. Of course, they can always go back and add it again if the inflow decides to ramp back up. But we'll take another vertical slice of this storm. It's again showing some signs of weakening, which is a good sign. But yeah, the hail returns only up to 5,000 feet maybe, and then a second pocket trying to develop around 15,000. So hail returns are shrinking. Heavy rain returns also shrinking a little bit. There are not as many dark reds as there were the last time we tried this slice.
All right, some pretty good news there, but it still looks pretty intense coming right into the Dresden area right now, I believe that is. If we go look here, yeah, so I'd say North Dresden, that's where the worst part of the storm is. That's where the winds are the strongest. Oh, we're going to do one more walk around here on our live products before we take a break. And if we see, obviously, something that's more concerning, we'll break in. And if there's a tornado warning issued, we'd go live on all of our coverage. But again, here's the concern tonight. It's most likely in the yellow. That's where we're under the level 2, hail being the main concern. And 8 counties still under that severe thunderstorm watch till 10 p.m. So one more look at the radar around West Tennessee. We're going to watch this for any sort of redevelopment. Right now, any of that around Jonesboro doesn't look to be an issue at all. But we still have a pretty intense hail maker with a little bit of an inflow notch here between Martin and Palmersville as it's dropping down to the south. Now, that notch is definitely concerning. This storm is trying to do something. But again, I think everything that we're seeing here is in the mid-levels of the storm. The lightning's also upticking a little bit. We've got a hail core out in front of it. So can't 100% rule out a tornado trying to develop with this, but definitely hail to the east side of it. It's a very classic looking supercell. So if you're watching us in Martin, you've seen the worst of it. But we'll watch this little notch. You got hail coming into Jewel, maybe again up to quarter size, tracking down to the southeast. So it looks like the hail core is going to miss you in Dresden, but about 4 or 5 miles east of town, probably going to pick up some hail. There's a look at the reported hail tracks. I thought it was going right into Dresden, but it did redevelop now east of town. Along 54, there'll be some hail. Here's a look at the hail possibilities. Ore Springs, I think you're probably more likely to see it than Gleason, including maybe Henry, if it holds together. But here's what we wanted to look at. Still some bright reds and greens, so there's a lot of rotation. It's still pretty broad. If you could see this during the day, it would probably be a really neat storm to look at. I guarantee you could see the storm rotating in a circle, but not quite tight enough for a tornado warning. But we'll keep an eye on it. If you're watching us in Gleason, though, Henry, Dresden, this storm's going to be probably impacting you. You probably just want to get away from windows just in case some hail comes through or you pick up some 50, 60 mile an hour winds. That seems probably on the high side, but can't rule that out with any severe thunderstorm warning. And here's a look at the latest timing for you in Ore Springs here. Coming up anytime soon. Gleason, about 5-10 minutes. Crowley Store, McKenzie, probably closer to 8:15 when it shows up for you guys. So let's check in with Jordan one more time before we end our live feed for now. As that inflow notch, a little concerning, Jordan, but just doesn't really pan out to look that bad on the velocity.
Yeah, I think it's a little too broad to be as intimidating as it looks on reflectivity. We do have a report from South Fulton, that is North Obion County, as when that storm passed through town, it dropped several golf ball size hailstones. But fortunately, as we've seen from the reports and the radar estimates, hail size has been pretty much decreasing nonstop since about the Obion Weakley County line, and now a new hail core developed to the east of the parent cell or parent core there. But again, we're going to keep an eye on this. It looks meaner than it is, but of course it's everything right now where it is. These radar beams are about a mile off the surface from both Memphis and Paducah's radar, so we're starting to get into that area where it's going to be a little gray. So we'll keep an eye on this, of course, and we've got, once it gets closer to Camden, we can always hop over to our exclusive Camden radar. But right now,
I'll go over to one. I'm going to try to pull up the Camden radar now and see what it is showing. Jordan, it is picking up a small little hail core there along 54 near Ore Springs. So this is our exclusive Camden radar. It's a little far away from Camden, but it's still picking up some pretty good stuff. So let me go ahead and make sure that we're on the right radar there, because that looks more like the National Weather Service's radar. But all right, so it is picking up a little hail core there between Dresden and Ore Springs as it's coming on through. We'll see what it's picking up as far as rotation, since make sure that we're not seeing anything too concerning there on the velocity product with it. So yeah, very broad stuff kind of mixing on in, nothing that looks like we need to be too concerned about. Actually, it looks like, I was right, Jordan, that was the radar out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So are you, I'm trying to get the radar to pull up there. It looks like it's not functioning right now.
My instance, Max 2 has crashed. The app itself has crashed. The computer's still working fine. I just got to reboot for a second.
All right. Fun, that's always fun. That's why we got two. All right, so here's a quick look. We'll just keep it going here. We're not doing anything else. We're watching storms tonight. Just well hang out on social media with you fine folks. So between Palmersville, Gleason, starting to see that hail core dropping some. That was in the Jewel area. You notice there was a lot more magentas showing up, but coming right into Ore Springs right now, and then tumbling. But you notice it's north of Carroll County, so we're still in out of Carroll County. So Henry, I'm a little concerned for you there. This storm's going to come through again. Doesn't look like any sort of tornado or anything coming, but definitely starting to uptick maybe a little bit on that rotation there east of Dresden.
Memphis is going to be reinserting the tornado possible tag.
Okay, yeah, so they're not issuing a tornado warning, but they are, as I said, it looked like it was starting to tighten up a little bit. See back here's when they dropped the tornado tag possible. You see the greens and the reds, they didn't look like they're doing much. But then you notice as we get going in the last couple scans, you started to see the brighter colors show up in and around Dresden. So that may be something of concern. It would have been nice, I didn't get an email about our Camden radar being down, but maybe there's an issue with it, because it would be nice to be able to look at it right now. Especially since we got exclusive access to it, but it looks like it's not working. So we'll stick with the National Weather Service's radars. Jordan, I'm going to get a drink real quick just in case we do have to go live on TV, and I'm going to let you take over for a couple minutes, all right?
All right, sounds good. All right, we're going to keep an eye on this. We're going to watch it together as it's moving through eastern Weakley County. We're going to take a look at the rotation on it real quick. That new update, that is them trimming the city of Martin out, and as well as the rest of northern and western at Weakley County. Martin, you're not in this. Sharon, Greenfield, you are not in it. Doesn't mean you're not going to hear some thunder. You're very likely going to hear some thunder over the next several minutes. But Gleason, if you're along Highway 22, it's where things are. Seems to be riding pretty well along Highway 22. It's getting pretty close. The hail core, at least, is getting pretty close to the Henry County line. And we'll pop things over to velocity for just a second, because the winds here in the mid levels, they are moving it pretty quickly. But what I want to bring your attention to is, if I can find a tool to draw with here just for a second, we'll go with this. Right here, these gray pixels. That's why we're not getting a tornado warning. That's these wind pixels that are right up against each other. They're not moving all that fast, and they're not very organized. You see these bright reds and these bright greens. They're there. They are close, but they're not close enough for Memphis to consider issuing a tornado warning. They're definitely keeping an eye on it, because they did reinsert that tornado possible tag. But again, these velocities, they're mean, but they're not as mean as they look. Of course, now we'll pop back reflectivity up on there. And again, the hail core is really dropping, which makes me think that could be why the rotation has ramped up just a little bit, is you usually get one or the other. Very rarely do you get both with individual supercells.
All right, just kind of working through the graphics here a little bit, just in case we do have to go on television, but we'll stick with you for another little bit longer. At the top of the hour here, we'll go through this one more time on as far as what we're seeing with this supercell thunderstorm that's coming through, as the lightning's upticked a little bit from where it was at just about 30 minutes ago. You notice the lightning strikes now up to 42 with the storm. They were around 20 earlier. Sometimes when the lightning gets a quick uptick, that's a sign that a storm is strengthening and could sometimes lead to tornado genesis. So it's something that we look at as meteorologists. If you see a storm just explode with lightning all of a sudden, that's kind of a red flag. So that's something that we keep an eye on. As far as the main hail, looks like it's going to possibly get you into Henry. So if you're watching us and you're just worried you got a new car or something and you don't want it to get hit, there's a look at some of the communities that could see that hail core coming on through if it still holds together. Rotation is definitely there, but it's not tight enough for a tornado warning to be issued. But it definitely looks more impressive now than it did as the storm passed through Union City and even Martin. So this is probably the most rotation we've seen with this storm since it's entered West Tennessee, but not enough for what I would consider a tornado warning yet. We'll go ahead and we'll draw on the timing of the possible wind lines. If it continues the same direction, I think it stays north of Huntington, but we'll see. I'm going to make sure my polygon goes with the general flow of this storm. So yeah, it looks pretty good. It looks like it's going to stay. There's a better chance it gets closer to Brewston than it does Huntington as it comes through. But we'll obviously keep a close eye on the situation for you folks there as the storm is beginning to approach Carroll County. So, all right, so let's rack it up. I'm going to head back to the weather wall here while Jordan works on another set of graphics to show you. Let me get this tucked in. All right, so again, a severe thunderstorm watch out till 10 p.m. tonight. Does include 8 counties. I don't think they're going to extend the watch further south. They may, I think by 10 o'clock, we're probably going to be done with the severe threat, so they're probably not going to be extending it on the time as well. But they may add a few counties into Middle Tennessee here as the storm continues to slide through. But we're also watching this possible redevelopment. Here's our cold front. It is also producing some stuff near Jonesboro, but nothing that we need to look at yet. Severe thunderstorm warnings out till 8:45. The cell is south of Palmersville, east of Dresden now is the main concern for hail, and the very heavy rain right along 54, likely coming into Henry. Gleason's be awful close to you, but I think the worst of it's going to pass just east. Worst of the storm right now, right along 54 in Ore Springs, heading into Como. So this is out till 8:45. Or got our little inflow notch here. That is where, if it was going to try to rotate and produce a tornado, there's where it would be. Looks like the worst of it is going to stay just east of McKinsey. It's going to be close for you folks. So there's a look at the hail. You notice the hail core has really dropped off as far as the bright colors, but if it continues down in the same general direction, could get hail in Henry maybe in about 20 minutes. Gleason here maybe in about 5 minutes, if it's still producing any hail. Definitely some bright reds and greens, so it's got our attention. We're watching the broad area of rotation with the right kind of lining up where that inflow notch is. You notice, though, it is quickly tracking down to the southeast. The center of rotation is going to pass probably between Gleason and Henry. But again, no tornado warning, but we are watching it. So here's the area of rotation. If it continues its same general flow, could be coming into Cherrywood, McKinsey. Probably going to stay away from Huntington, but it's going to be close around 8:45. That's in about 40 minutes. Brewston, you're about 45 minutes away from it getting around you. So tracking down to the southeast, there's a look at our one supercell of note. It is going to clip northeastern Carroll County and then head over into Benton County. I think if you're watching us in western Weakley County or Obion County, I think you're pretty much seeing your storm threat wrap on up. Jordan, what you got?
I'm keeping an eye on the lightning count because over the last few minutes it's been climbing. It was below 40 not too long ago. Now we're up to 55, now 56 with that latest strike. So we're going to keep an eye on this. But what I'm noticing is a lot of this lightning is right where that hail core would be. So wondering if that's just the updraft re-intensifying because the velocity scan actually took a step back with this latest radar scan. So we'll start to see if the hail core redevelops, and of course we can always just turn the radar off and the radar estimated hail track on. Of course we still have some, it's still picking up some to the west of where that was. Excuse me, it's trying to query the thunderstorm warnings. We'll turn off the fill and we'll turn off the outline. And we'll check this out again, and it's that's not where I wanted to put that. Right here around the edge of that, still right around pea to marble size hail, around 1/4 of an inch, so there's still hail. We're just not able to, and again, remember these scans, we're starting to get into that gray area where we're not seeing everything at the base of the storm. We're looking in towards the middle of the storm, and we can take another vertical slice, but it's probably not going to be as telling as it was maybe 30 minutes ago, right around that hail core. And yeah, it's right around 10,000 feet, but we could probably add about 5,000 feet to that just because of where it is in West Tennessee. Now, as this is crossing this little area, we're gonna be heavily relying on. We're probably gonna start looking at some of our outdoor cams. I know we have one in Paris and one in Huntington. I'm not aware of anything outside of those two areas, but we'll keep an eye on our live network of cams and Storm Tracker 7 Max radar to keep this as up to date as possible.
All right, yeah, as Jordan said, the lightning is really upticking. Again, that's a sign that the storm could be strengthening. Do want to show you one other thing now. It looks like we've got our first lightning strike showing up with some of this back redevelopment. It looks like there's a couple lightning strikes near Marmaduke there. That's over into right just west of the Boot Heel of Missouri, northeast Arkansas. So that's some stuff that we're watching, which may try to come in later into Dyer, Gibson County. It's definitely not impressive though at all right now. So this is definitely our storm of the moment. There's still a small hail core, although it does look like it's weakening. The hail core is maybe going down some, but as Jordan said, the velocity still pretty intense there between Ore Springs and tumbling as it tracks down to the southeast. So storm, as far as if you're watching us in McKinsey, I think it's going to miss you for the most part. I think the main area of winds probably coming right very close into Henry. Paris, you're going to be close, especially if you're south Paris. I think it may come in. So here's the general area, probably is in between here and here that this storm's going to go. So if you're between Paris and Henry, you got some gusty winds, I think, on the way as this little core tries to squeeze through. But not enough on the rotation for a tornado warning. National Weather Service says they're asking for any hail reports east of Martin to Dresden. So we'll see if you want to report those in, if you got some hail. If you're watching us on our Facebook Live, or you're able to chat in there, we'll try to pull that up and see. Looks like there still could be up to 1 inch hail near Gleason. So rotation again, still there, but not anything to be super concerned about as far as a tornado at this moment. But we're gonna keep an eye on it. I'll go ahead and draw one more timing on this. Make sure we get it right. So again, if it does come through, eventually it could become an issue for Camden if it holds together around 9 o'clock. So heads up on that. If you're watching us in Camden, the storm could be coming your way if it holds together. But Cherrywood, McKinsey, Hiko, Mansfield, Brewston, Tin Cup, I guess if you see your name on there, there's a look at the timing and when it may come through. Jordan, we'll stick around for another couple minutes, then we'll take a break, and then if the storm gets stronger, we'll get back in. If not, we'll look at doing an update maybe here about 8:30. You got anything else?
I think I've got everything we can say about it.
All right, we'll break in here in a little bit, do another update. We'll shoot for around like 8:30. This gives us about 20 minutes off. So we'll, unless something happens in the meantime, we'll see you then, about 20 minutes. All right, bye.